Hi you guys, thank you so much for watching. In today's video I'm going to show you how I prepare my plants to come inside for winter, and I do this for just about all of them except the ones in the screened-in porch. So for the ones that actually spent the summer out in the landscape, the process is a little bit different because they are more exposed to the creepy crawlies in the ground, in the air, and the birds, the birds as well. So the first thing that I did to get this philodendron hope ready, which I think this is a philodendron hope. Yeah, I think this is what this is. Anyway, the first thing I did to get this plant ready was 2 weeks ago I applied a systemic pest treatment to it. It's a granule pest treatment, and I sprinkled it into the soil. Sorry, there's a spider right here and I'm not happy. Ugh, let me spray them. So literally for reasons like that, those type of pests, spiders, centipedes, millipedes, roly-polies, like anything can move into your plants over the summer. So first things first, systemic. Systemic is good for anything that actually feeds on the juices of the leaves. So what that does is you sprinkle it on the soil, water it in, the plant absorbs that that liquefied granule, and then it goes into the leaves. When the bugs suck on the sap of the leaves, it acts as a poison and kills them. So I applied that 2 weeks ago, and then now it's time for the next step because my temperatures are dropping soon, next week actually. So what I'm going to do now is check the leaves for bugs, spray off the foliage, and then I'm going to repot this plant. I'm going to change out all of the soil. I'm going to rinse the pot full. First thing I'm going to do is pull the plant out of the pot. Then I'm going to rinse off as much soil as I can to get out anything that has made a nest in this pot. I have seen a lot of roly-polies down in the soil. They like to go down there and nest. They typically eat just rotted material, but I have heard of them eating like new like growth and roots and things like that. So I don't want them in my house this winter. I'm gonna change out the soil and then clean out this pot, and then we're gonna start fresh. That's how I rid the soil of anything that's been living in this pot all summer. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna pull this plant out, and this actually could be 1, 2, 3 plants. I see three actual plants in this pot. So let's go ahead. Here's what this looks like. Here's the old soil here, and I'm gonna check and see if there was in fact anything living in here. The root system looks good. The roots are nice and white like they should be. Okay, so let's give you a close-up. Okay, so the roots look really good. Like I said, they're nice and white. They all look healthy. Everything looks great. I see some bug walking away. He probably was in there. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and start breaking up this old soil. I'll clean out the pot here, and then I'm actually just gonna repot it back into its old pot. So you can see there some roly-polies living over there. That's why it's important to change out the soil and to clean the plant off really well. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. pests that are walking through the soil. You can see there's roly-polies, and I've taken out a couple of slugs. It may seem like a lot, you know, to deal with, bringing your plants outside for summer and then having to bring them in. It is a lot, and it can be exhausting, but the benefit to your plants is so much. Now, because this is an indoor plant, I am going to add a little cover for the drainage hole in the pot. So what I use is just a piece of a coffee filter. See that hole? I just stick that coffee filter right above that hole, or right on top of that hole. That helps keep the soil in the pot for when you water, all right? So the next thing I do, once I've watered it in, is go ahead and spray down the leaves with this pest spray. This will help just get anything that is just hanging on to the leaves that I didn't fully get. I'll spray it down here in these cracks. So now I'm just about done. The last thing that I'm going to do is bring this plant inside of my house. I'm going to quarantine it off in an area that is lower light, just so that it can adjust. And then once, probably after about a week, then I'll incorporate it back into my home, into the spot that it will spend the winter time. But as of now, this plant is clean-ish. You know, I got all the visible bugs. You may not be able to get everything, but just do your best. Things like roly-polies, they're, you know, not harmful to you. Spiders typically aren't harmful. to us, and usually they come inside in the winter anyway. Not that you want them coming in on your plant, but just clean off as many bugs as you can. All right, so I'm gonna give you guys just a little tour of some of the plants that I already have indoors and how I'm keeping them away from everything else until it's time to move them back into society, which is my living room and dining room with all their friends. All right, guys, so that is about it. So the last thing I will do is I will quarantine this plant in my, so that is about it. I will quarantine this plant in my, I guess you would call it like a family room, bonus room. It's gonna stay in there for about a week. It's gonna be in some lower light conditions. That way it can get used to being indoors and for the winter. So that's pretty much it. I'll give you guys a little shot of where it's gonna go inside. So this is where this plant will spend about a week before I go ahead and incorporate it into the rest of the household. This gets light from these big doors, but the whole atmosphere is different. So it's going to have time to adjust back to being in the house. And I want to show you, I had a little stowaway on my plant that I just found. Let me see. A little slug trying to survive. Ooh, can't see him that well. But I'm gonna go ahead and put him outside, and then I have to get started on the rest of the plants. So I have a few more plants to get through that I'm trying to get through before the end of the day. Monday is actually when the temperature is going to drop below 46. So I do have tomorrow to get some things done, but I definitely want to get some of these big ones out of the way. So that philodendron Xanadu out there, I really need to get him taken care of. Matter of fact, I probably should have done him first, but anyway. So I have the philodendron Xanadu, I have the bird of paradise, and then I have this watermelon peperomia right there. And I'm going to try to get these guys done today. And then any other plants that I'm bringing in for winter, they're just going to have to wait till tomorrow. Hopefully I'll get them done. If not, I might be able to like cover them up with a cloth or something. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. show you guys real quick one of the reasons why you want to look on top and underneath your leaves. You might have little cocoon type things like that that you will want to wipe away before you bring them in your house. With this Xanadu, look, you can see there's a caterpillar there that I still need to get off, and I will once I get this plant up off the ground. But yeah, so I mean, you really want to go through your leaves with a fine-tooth comb, especially if you are worried about, if you don't like pests in your home, which nobody really does, but some people are more squeamish with bugs than others. But yeah, I just want to show you that. And then this plant actually was having a mold issue in the soil, and I blame an old soil that I was using, because a lot of my plants using this particular soil started to develop mold in the soil. So I'm glad that I'm going to be able to get it out of that and get it into something a little bit better. I didn't really get to, look at that caterpillar just went on ahead with this little silk. He's going to take your cell phone out of the equation. Okay, go on, buddy. Anyway, so I'm just glad to get it into new soil, and hopefully won't have that issue. And then allowing the plant to dry out completely between waterings is also helpful. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these leaves clean and get this guy in his pot. So this repot was tough. This plant is huge. It really needs to be in a new pot. It needs a bigger pot. It's, you know, it's root bound in there. Even after taking off some of the soil, it is still root bound. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna treat it the same, bring it in. I have to find this plant a new pot. I have to. It is just too big to stay in there. It can stay in there for probably a month or so and be just fine, but it's important to me that I pot it up as soon as I can. But yeah, so this is not for the faint of heart. It really isn't. There are so many spiders, so many bugs, so many nasty things in the soil. It is messy. I'm sweating, I'm hot, I'm not happy. This plant here, this big one, just made me want to go ahead and just throw everything in the trash. Like, that's how awful it was to do this. So I'm thinking I might not do this next year, at least not with the big ones. The big ones probably should stay inside, just because they're just so much more difficult to change out the soil and, you know, do all this leaf cleaning, spraying down, hosing off crap, and then you have spiders and slugs and everything just tucked away in leaf crevices and cracks and soil. Ugh, it's a lot. So definitely smaller plants, sure, they're easy to repot, change out soil. Big plants, they staying in the house. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this. Leave me a comment below and let me know what you do when you bring your plants in for winter. Let's see if we all do some of the same things. All right, bye.